Hello and welcome to ReginaldESQ. I'm Underhook and this is my review of the Tier 10 American tank destroyer, the T110E4. So is it any good? Yeah, it's good. It combines being a heavy tank and a tank destroyer together in one tank. It's not great at being a heavy tank and it's not great at being a tank destroyer, but it does give you the flexibility of being able to fulfill either role. It has 2,000 hit points, which is average for a Tier 10 tank destroyer. It weighs in at 64 tons, which is also roundabout average, but do not under any circumstances ram a Jag Tiger E100 at 134 tons, your brother the E3 at 75 tons, or the Waffle E100 at 98 tons. If you avoid ramming those guys, you should be okay. Speed-wise, it does 35 kilometers an hour in forward, which is average, and it only does 10 kilometers an hour in reverse, which is the second worst. Its brother, the E3, only does 8 kilometers an hour in reverse, but other than that, it's worse than all the others. So that is a bit of a limiting factor. It takes time to pull back. Has a track reverse of 26, which is about average, and a turret reverse of 19. Now that's a very slow gun traverse. However, it traverses further than most of the other tank destroyers, so it's a bit of a trade-off, being that it has a turret. Now the view range of 400 meters is the same as all the other tank destroyers except for the Object 263, which gets 410 meters, and the Waffle E100, which gets 420 meters. Signal range of 745 is, well, it's kind of good. They're all pretty good at this stage. Camouflage wise, this tank is not great, but it's not terrible. It's kind of in the middle there, similar to probably a Tier 7 heavy tank camouflage wise, so not great. The gun depression on this tank is really disappointing because the T30 that we had before this, in fact all the tank destroyers from the Wolverine up, the turreted tank destroyers, had about 10 degrees of gun depression. That was probably one of the defining features of the American tank destroyer line. Unfortunately, you get to Tier 10 and you lose that. We've only got 6 degrees of gun depression, which turns out to be about average. The only one that's better than that is the E3, which has 8 degrees of gun depression. All the rest are around about anywhere from 6 to 4, so it's not unusual, but it's just disappointing because all its predecessors had great gun depression, and that's what the whole line is known for. The elevation, though, is also terrible at 12 degrees. It shares that honour with the Foch, and it's the equal worst. So the gun is very inflexible in that regard. And the armor on this tank isn't great, so if you want to shoot over a hill, having to pop your whole tank over to have a shot is a problem. The of course the tank comes fully equipped because it is a Tier 10, but let's have a look at the gun. Now the gun is a 155mm gun, same gun as we had on the T30, the tank before this. Now this gun was nerfed a couple of patches ago. It used to do 850 average damage, it now does 750 damage, the same as the T30. So it has 295 penetration, which is excellent, and average damage of 750, as we said. If you decide to use premium ammunition, you can get 375 millimeters of penetration from the armor-piercing composite rigid ammunition, which is amazing, really. The HE ammo on this tank is a viable option. It has 90 pen and 1100 damage, and on average, I've found if you're shooting at targets, you will do about 60% of the damage of this gun. So instead of doing 750, you'll do around about anywhere from sort of 400 average damage, something like that. Of course, it's a different story. If you hit a little scout tank, you could do the full 1100 damage. But it is a viable option, particularly when you have the only parts of a tank you can shoot at are the parts of the tank that are really well armored and you can't pen it with your standard ammo. You can load HE and still do some damage. So yeah, it does work quite well, and yeah, you don't have to worry about hitting well armored parts. So if it's a difficult shot or you're not sure you're going to hit it the right place, use HE. It's quite good. 3.08 rate of fire is not too bad with a gun with this sort of power. The accuracy though of 0.37 is pretty bad. At long ranges, this tank is incredibly inconsistent and misses a lot. Medium range, it's okay, but you can't target weak spots. You can't expect to hit a weak spot at medium range. Close range, it's pretty good. 2.9 second aiming time is quite acceptable. So what we'll do now is we'll go into Tank Inspector, have a quick look. Before I do that though, I'll just let you know what I'm going to have in the gameplay. We have a fully trained crew. The commander has 6th sense camouflage and is currently working on repairs. The gunner here has 100% camouflage, 100% repairs, and currently working on firefighting. The driver, 100% clutch braking, camouflage, and is working on repairs. The loader has camouflage repairs and is working on firefighting, and the other loader has camouflage repairs and is currently working on firefighting. I have gun lane drive, gun rammer, and vents fitted, and I have a small repair kit, large repair kit, and large first aid kit fitted. So the T110E4 in Tank Inspector. First off, let's show you the gun traverse. So it is a turret tank destroyer, but that's as far as the gun can turn, to basically 90 degrees each side. It cannot turn any further than that. It is a severe limitation at times, like if scouts are coming around you. You lose the ability to turn your turret and tracks at the same time, thus slowing your chances of getting your gun to point at your enemy. And of course, if you're tracked, you're defenseless from the back half of your tank. So it is a bit of a problem. Now, as far as the armor goes on this tank, let's have a quick look. So we have a lower plate here, which is a common place to get penned in this tank, and it's 114mm of armor. So similar to an IS-7's lower plate in that respect. Angling it though means you still can get a pretty good shots on it because it's also rounded. So if it's angled, you can shoot this area here. Don't go over this side, go this side if it's angled that way. If it's straight on, you can go in here or pick one of these sides. You do need to have a fairly accurate gun to do it though, because if your gun isn't accurate, and sometimes it happens to me if I'm shooting at these tanks, your shell goes a little high, it hits this and it probably won't penetrate this, because that's 254mm of armor on the beak of the tank. Very, very good armor. On the upper part of the hull, we have 140mm of armor, but it's very well sloped, and it's unusual to get penetrated there unless the person has a height advantage on you. Turning to the side of the tank, we can see that the part in between the tranks is only 44mm thick, which is very light. This section here, which encompasses this little bit of a front armor and the rest of the side armor of the tank, is 76mm, which is also, of course, very, very light on. The rear of the tank is only 38mm thick. Let's have a look at the turret now, and you can see here there is a turret ring, quite a pronounced turret ring, which is 152mm thick, and is also another weak spot of this tank because it's pretty much flat. So if you're close up with one of these guys, shoot in there at the turret ring, it's definitely a good spot to shoot. The other real weak spot of this tank is, of course, the cupola. Now, the E3, the non-turreted version, gets much, much better armor. This has similar armor, I guess, to the E5, the heavy tank. And yeah, it's vulnerable lower plate and it's vulnerable cupola here. It's 152mm thick. It is really heavily sloped though. As you can see here, it forms like a point. So it is really well designed, but it's just not thick enough to stop most tier 8s and tier 9s and tier 10s. It will stop a lot of tier 8 tanks though. So you will find quite a few tier 8 tanks try and shoot this from the front and they'll bounce off it because they'll have trouble getting through the over 200mm equivalent. But anything tier 9 and above just punches holes straight through that. Makes the tank incredibly difficult to play at close and medium ranges because they can penetrate you low and they can penetrate you high. So going hull down doesn't protect you, and they can also go your turret ring. So they've kind of got a bunch of weak spots to aim for. Also on the turret we have the frontal armor here on the cheeks, which is 203mm thick. Once again, that'll stop some tier 8s, but that's about it. It is very flat. Tier 9s and 10s will pierce that quite easily. Also, the mantlet here is 254mm thick. It's also completely flat. A lot of tier 10 tank destroyers will easily punch a hole through your mantlet. The purple section, though, is quite good and is virtually impenetrable, with in places 200mm overlaying 150mm. So that purple bit, hope they hit that. Now the side of the turret isn't much. It's 152mm of armor and quite flat, so a pretty easy penetration, as is the rear of the turret. The side of the cupola doesn't get the same armor as the front, and it's only 76mm thick, so it's very easy to pen from anywhere but the front. So you really do need to keep your turret pointed at the enemies. If you decide to angle your turret, you could angle your turret at the enemy. I have tried doing that. The problem is that they just kind of aim right about here if they know what they're doing, and they'll still penetrate. But And the other problem, of course, is giving them the side of your cupola is a bit dodgy. So with this tank, with the armor layout, it kind of... The problem is it's a classic mismatch. We have a brawler gun, due to its .37 accuracy, on a sniper armor. If you're far enough away, they will have trouble pinpointing your cupola or pinpointing your lower plate, and you can bounce quite a few shots. And also, of course, they're losing pen over range. However, it's hard to hit anything. After playing, I don't know, 250 odd games in this tank, I've finally learned that you just have to be a sniper. I've played so many games playing this as a heavy tank because I just get so bored with sitting back and camping that I've just played it like a heavy tank and really having a lot of sort of really average games. To play this game and tank and actually do well, for me, I need to sit back and hide and snipe at long range and just accept the fact that I'm going to miss quite a few shots. But the good part is it can sort of work as a heavy tank when the other tanks start closing the gap and trying to brawl you. Let's get into some gameplay. So before we get into the gameplay, I'm just going to show you me shooting some HE so you can get a feel for how the HE works in this one. So that one here, T95, looks like it hit him right on the turret, only did 75 damage, but at least we did some damage to the T95. This time I'm a little more careful with the T95 and I try and aim at his cupola. And we do 361 with the HE ammunition on that occasion. I'm not sure if we actually hit the cupola though. And he shoots and misses. So line up his cupola again. He gets a shot into us, but this time you can see we do 438 damage, finishing him off. So HE is useful. There's an E100 behind that rock. There he is. Come on. I decided to just shoot the back wheel to track him. I'm using HE ammo though. And we still do 279 damage to him as well as tracking him. Reloading out another HE shell. There's a leopard there. We've now reloaded.
Enemy vehicle destroyed.
Now that was 938 damage. If we'd been using an AP round there, probably wouldn't have got the kill.
Damaged.
He's backing away, Jack Tiger, and we hit him as he's backing away for 347. A normal AP shell may well have bounced then. Here we go. RHM.
That was close.
147 damage. That was close, which means we actually missed, but we still did 147 damage.
Enemy armor is destroyed.
T57 heavy. So my gun elevation letting me down there. I can't quite get the shot. Now we get rear of the turret. 1017 damage. Definitely a good hit with HE. This time we're lining up a VK. Hit him in the side, but only do 359, I think it was. He was angled, but probably would have been better off with an AP shell there. Shoot the IS-7 in the side on the way down, doing 390. Then get a little ram in, although probably didn't do me any good either. Rear of the turret with HE only does 419. So you can see with a tank, really well armoured tank like the IS-7, it's far better to just use AP ammo.
Time to roll out.
Alright, now for some normal gameplay. So we're in our Tier 10 American Tank Destroyer, the T110E4. It's obviously a Tier 10 game. There's about 5, I think, Tier 10s on each team. A few Tier 9s and a lot of Tier 8s, so pretty good matchup for this tank. The reason I'm showing you this replay is it demonstrates what I think is the correct way to play this tank. Like for the first 200 games I didn't play it this way. I tried to use it like it was a heavy tank. There's a Chaffee. We miss. I try to play it as a heavy tank, like basically just always going to the front lines, and it just... The armor doesn't hold up. I mean, sometimes I'd have some okay games where I'd do alright, you know. But no real great games or big damage games or anything like that, because it just didn't stay alive long enough. So I've kind of learnt my lesson now, and the idea is to act like a TD, even though this chaffy just drove straight into the water. And someone shot him here. It was going so fast, I don't think he could turn or something. I don't know what happened there. Yeah, so act like a TD, and even though the accuracy is not good and you'll miss a lot of shots at range, some of them will hit. Then when you're winning and you start to dominate the enemy, start moving forward and act like a heavy tank. Or if you're losing and the enemy starts attacking you, then just basically stand your ground or move around a bit and act like a heavy tank. So you kind of, because you've got both of the qualities of a TD and a heavy tank, it makes sense to put yourself in a position where you're going to use both of those qualities, not just one of them. Because if you try and be a well-armoured TD, it doesn't work because you haven't got the armour. And if you try and be, you know, a manoeuvrable armoured heavy tank, it doesn't work because you haven't got the armour and manoeuvrability for it. You kind of got a bit of both. We're lucky there we set that guy on fire. Now I did load HE ammo, and so I hit him with a HE shell, which only did 625 damage on a T71. It should have probably blown him apart. A standard shell, AP shell, would have probably finished him, but luckily for us he caught fire. I've loaded AP shells again. What I tend to do now is if I see there's a lot of scouts or medium tanks on my team, I will load HE at the start, because often, you know, the scouts will rush you like that chaffy did before. But it doesn't always work. Sometimes you hit a part of their tank, it doesn't do much. Centurion, turret sight on, 819. That's good damage because it's only a 750 average damage on this tank. We're not reloaded. 16.45 seconds it's taking for me to reload with vents fitted and gun rammer fitted. Not sure if I hit or not there. Haven't got a shot on that Persia. I'm not sure. I think there might be a house in the way. So try and maneuver. Take a bit of a risk coming out from behind these bushes to try and get a shot, but there's no shot there. I would love to get a shot across on that E75. He pops up every now and then. Moving back a little bit to try and get a shot. That would be a great shot on the side of the turret. Unfortunately, he ducks out. Might just speed this up to 2 times for a little bit. We're at 2 times now. Oh, slow it down again. There he was. Oh, he's gone again. Should we take a shot? Yeah, why not? Speed it back up to 2 times again now. So I'm being patient, and normally I don't like being this patient, and I lose my patience and I rush out and start doing a heavy tank thing, which is why I don't do very well at tier 10. Don't have the patience for it. But I'm being disciplined in this game. Oh, here we go. Centurion has decided to sneak up round the back. Shoots at us. Bounces because he's in a really bad angle to get our lower plate, plus our tank was angled to him, and we managed to get a shot into him and finish him off. He did damage our gun though, I think. Oh no, he didn't damage, he just bounced off our gun. Okay. So I'll speed it back up to 2 times again. A little bit boring, this camping stuff, I know. But it's how you play the tank, I think. I've been spotted again, though I realised, whoa, the enemy's made a rush on me. 183 gets there. We get a shot into it and back off, try and angle my armor. Not too much side, and he bounces off me. I'm a very lucky man. The Pershing also bounces off me. And this is the thing with this tank. Oh, I got hit from the side by T-34. You've got to keep moving. If you stand still, they will pick your lower plate and they will pick your cupola. If you keep moving, you've got a good chance of bouncing some shots. But if you can't stand still. Now, I'm in big trouble here. Tiger's hit me. My gun's now damaged. Oh, the 183 gets in him. He doesn't do much damage. He only does 400 something damage, so he must hit a well-armoured part of my tank. He was actually using HE. So we get a shot at the Pershing there, but it looks like we're for it. Oh, they're surrounding us. Basically on my own. So we kind of ran out of friends there and got surrounded and killed, but it still was a good game. We hit plenty of tanks, had a bit of fun. Next screen, you can see that we finished on top for our team for experience, and I think we might have finished on top for damage. Yeah, we did. And the enemy team had this Leopard 1 had a fantastic game here with 6,800 damage. Wow, good game. So we fired 9 shots, of which 7 were direct hits and 7 penetrated, which is a good result. Damage 4,743, which is really great, and for over 300 meters we did 1,199 of that. Hits received 12, penetrations 9, so we managed to bounce a few shots, which is good. Sometimes in this tank you'll go through games without bouncing any shots, so that's pretty good. Damage blocked by armor 710, okay. We spotted a couple of vehicles, we damaged 6, destroyed 2, pretty happy with that result. The tank is not very profitable, although look, we made 10,000, we didn't use any premium ammunition. However, it was a loss, so I guess, you know, but still, it's not a really profitable tank for me anyway. Alright, so normally on this map I would pretend to be a heavy tank and go up to the top of the hill and duke it out with the other heavy tanks up there, and they would snipe my cupola and kill me. But I've learnt my lesson, so I'm staying back here amongst the bushes and the rocks, and I'm going to try and pick them off at range. As I've said, the gun isn't very accurate at .37 accuracy, but due to the armor restraints, you really don't have a choice, I feel, in this tank. At least on this particular map, it's not that boring being in a sniping position because there's still plenty going on. I'll take a little bit of risk coming out a bit high here. And we actually do hit the top of that T-57, but do no damage. Now that's an example where if I had HE ammunition loaded, I would have done big damage on the turret. But because I had AP, the angle was too steep and I just bounced off, ricocheted off. Well, I didn't ricochet, bounced off. Might just speed this up to 2 times while we're waiting to get some targets. I'm going up over the hill here to try and get a shot. That's the trouble with the poor gun depression. You really have to expose your tank to try and get shots. I decided not to stay up there till they're respotted because it's just too risky. And here we have a shot on an IS-7. Side of his turret is turned, but we miss. Not spotted though, which is good. Oh, there's plenty of heavy tanks up there. Here's a T-57 again. It's probably the one we ricocheted off before. And he moves and we miss. So a bit of a combination there of poor accuracy and he moved. Looking around for a better shot. I mean, I could shoot at that IS-7. I'd probably hit him, but I wouldn't do any damage. I could switch to HE, I suppose. But it looks like he's giving us a bit more of his tank now. And that one goes in for 742, just slightly below the average damage. I've been spotted though, so I decided to move. And you'll see me here zigzagging. So what I have learnt with this tank is well, as I said in the last game, keep moving when people are shooting. Don't stop moving. Oh, nice, 932. Yeah, don't stop moving. and wiggle waggle from side to side. You don't want them to hit your cupola, and you don't want them to hit your lower plate flat on. At least if they hit your lower plate on an angle, you might have a chance. So if you're zigzagging, just stuffs up their aim, hopefully. So aiming for the weak spot on the top of the IS-7 there, but we totally miss. Really can't expect to hit weak spots with this gun at this sort of range, over 300 meters. But we can try. 183 Death Star, and we missed totally. Totally missed the tank there. Like I say, as far as sniping goes, don't expect to hit very often, or that often. But you really don't have a choice, because if you go out in the open, you just get smashed to pieces. Totally miss again with that shot. So these aren't even bouncing or ricocheting, they're just not hitting at all. I'm hoping I'm getting just below the turret there, the giant plate, but the shot goes wide to the left. It does hit this time at least, but it went wide to the left, hit the bottom of his turret, did nothing. Now they're coming for us. So it was in the M103 we put that shot. We had a few choices there. I just went to the one I thought I had the best chance of actually penetrating. You see here I'm zigzagging on the way back. I got tracked just now. We did bounce a couple of shots there, but we also took one. We were hit with a heat shell from 257, and we were hit with by the mouse for 538. So our health's not looking too good. I'm just trying to back up until I'm not spotted anymore. If I go off their radar. I've just reloaded, and there's the 183. He's on low health, and we managed to take care of him, which is great. I've bounced another shot from a mouse, and you can see as I'm talking about, I just keep zigzagging when I've been spotted. Alright, so we've got the IS-7, let's see if we can track it. Shell goes into the dirt. Okay, so now I'm loading in HE ammunition, because I can see these tanks are bunkered down. All side of the turret M103 with HE on. Yeah. So we did 794 damage with that shot into the side of his turret. Front of the tank would have been a different story, but because he had the side of his turret, we were able to get that shot in. He comes aiming for the lower plate, because well, actually the upper plate's fairly good, so straight in. I only do 308 damage with his turret, but still that's not bad. AP we probably wouldn't have penned. So same with the mouse here, I'm just going for the cheek of the turret. I don't want to hit the mantle, even though it's giving me a green indicator there. I'm just going to go for the cheek here, flat on. We do 418, and then he catches fire for 114, but he must have an automatic fire extinguisher, and the fire goes out straight away. But you can see there, even something really tough like a mouse, we're hitting the front of his turret, which is well armoured, but because of HE, this is where the HE on this gun is great, and then we're able to take him out. Whereas if I'd been using AP ammo, then those shots would have probably bounced, because he had his little number plate, the weak point there, well protected. So I guess one thing to sum up this tank is you could say it's versatile. Yeah, it's not, like I say, it's not a great tank destroyer, and it's not a great tank, but it has versatility. It can do a lot of different things. Look at that 474, just a glancing shot on the side of that IS-7 with the HE ammo. You have the ability to be a tank when you need to be. You have the ability to be a tank destroyer when you need to be. And you have the choice of piercing ammo. You have the choice of HE ammo, which is quite effective. And I haven't used any. And there you go, another 349 to that IS-7. I haven't used any, but you also have the choice of the armor piercing composite rigid ammunition, which has fantastic penetration. I just don't like spending the money, so, but you could if you wanted to. Oh, please let me hit this IS-7. Okay, well, someone else cleaned him up. That's the end of the game. They're all gone. So we managed to get a Class 1 badge in that game. I haven't got Master in this tank, even though I've played about, I think, 270 games or something in it. So I'm not a great player, obviously, of this tank. But I do enjoy playing it. It's a good tank, and I have got a positive damage and positive destruction ratio in it. So, and I don't really like tier 10 tanks that much, so I guess it's probably a pretty good tank. Let's have a look at the next screen. So we finished on top for experience and for damage on our team, and we're on top for damage out of both teams actually, so that's good. Next screen, and we fired 20 shots, which is a lot in this tank. 13 of those were direct hits and 12 of them penetrated, and we got 1 splash damage as well. We did 5,676 damage, which I'm really happy about, and 3,621 of that was from a range greater than 300 meters. So the accuracy held up pretty well actually, even though we did miss quite a few shots, as you saw. Hits received 7, only 3 of those penetrated, so we managed to bounce 4 shots, which was great. So the wiggling of the tank really helped a lot there. And the damage blocked by armor was 2,180, which is good because we've only got 2,000 hit points, so we could have been killed easily there. Enemy vehicles damaged 6, destroyed 4. Very happy with that. Damage caused from assistance was 943. Might have been tracking, I guess. So the income of 60,274 is not bad. However, with the ammunition costs and repair costs of the tank, even though we didn't get blown up, we only made 13,300 credits. That's really, really bad, but pretty typical of a tier 10 tank. So I did not fire any premium ammunition, and the HE ammunition is actually cheaper than the standard ammunition. So yeah, I mean, if you're going to use, say, the premium ammunition, you're going to have a hard time making money unless you're a really, really good player, I think. Alright, so that gave us anyway 1003 XP raw, 1504 with premium. It happened to be a ×3 game. Yeah, I was lucky. Alright, thank you. Thank you for watching my review of the T110E4. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more reviews, please subscribe to ReginaldESQ. Have fun.